Okay. All right. Welcome, everybody. I appreciate everybody showing up and taking the time to be part of this conversation. I think this is our 7th or 8th National Training Fund webinar, and they seem to keep growing. So hopefully we're doing something right. We're going to switch up the format a little bit this week, and it's not all going to be about National Training Fund and grants and stuff like that. Lee and I talked a couple weeks ago and thought let's kind of expand the conversation a little bit. So what we're going to do today, excuse me while I keep letting people in, we're going to have Lee give us a overall National Training Fund update, talk about some of the stuff that we're working on, some of the stuff that's coming up. Steve Rank with the safety department was kind enough to lend his time to us, and he's going to give us a good industry update and what's going on in safety. We've got Ben and Courtney from organizing, talking about ways that we can work digitally and how apprenticeship can kind of better partner with the organizing department in recruitment in kind of a digital space. And then Tim from IT, we've all heard about this AI. I was on a webinar with him a couple weeks ago discussing just kind of the state of artificial intelligence around the globe, basically, but how we can really utilize that. What are some of the pros and cons, things that we should be aware of as we move into this kind of AI getting into our work and how we can use it as a tool, but things that we should be aware of at the same time. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Lee Worley for a National Training Fund update. Lee?
Great. Thanks, James. Hope everybody's having a good day. I got a few announcements before James carries on with the agenda. And the first one is regarding the annual training program this summer in Ann Arbor. The registration deadline is June 1st, so make sure you got your registrations in. We're doing very well on participation so far, but I know that May is usually a pretty busy month for us, and we just want to make sure that everybody gets their stuff in a timely manner. Regarding the announcements for the annual training program, I just want to remind everybody, but this year, because of very sparse participation, we are no longer going to run the bus transportation to and from the airport to the dorms. Very, very few people ever use it. It costs us a lot of money, so we just decided to drop it. So just remind yourself, there's no bus transportation from the airport to U of M back and forth. And then another thing my office manager and I, we looked at over the years when we get the end of the conference bill from the college, Washington Community College, we always seem to get charged between $900 and $1,000 on the key cards for those that are staying in the dorms. I wish they would have told everybody that this isn't like a hotel. You take your card key and you can throw it away when you're done, and they're going to make sure they announce it at registration. But we've been getting charged for this year in and year out, and it's just driving us crazy. So for those of you that are staying at the University of Michigan dorms, please return your striped key cards when you check out on either Friday or Saturday at the end of the week. Okay, moving on to the welder certification program. So I can't even begin to tell you how long this has been going on, probably 4 or 5, 6 years. We've been working on overhauling the entire system. And we want to launch a new program at the end of July, and we're going to have some training webinars coming up, and I'll announce that on listserv either after this meeting or first thing tomorrow, once we get the message clear. So this new system will provide you with the new features and benefits. You'll learn how to navigate it and manage your welder certification cards. And this webinar will provide you with step-by-step guidance and answer any questions you have. The 3 training webinars, and again, I'll put this in an email, is May 9th, May 16th, and May 23rd. You only need to sign up for one of them, but you can attend all 3. It's going to be the same material. So 3 training webinars, May 9th, the 16th, and the 23rd, between 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. Eastern time. Please, coordinators, any admins should sign up. The more the merrier, there's no limit. And registration link, I said, will be, as soon as we get that link finalized, you'll get that either today or first thing tomorrow. Okay, regarding the PQ1 classes and the endorsement from the QC47. From what I've been hearing, the prep courses have been going very well, and our CWIs that are given qualification tests that are accredited testing facilities are going through the courses and taking the exam. I just want to remind you that no date has been set yet by AWS, but we do want to get this endorsement as soon as you can possibly can. We don't want to have anybody shut down for any reason. So make sure you sign up for the prep course and then sign up at the Prometric site. I believe it takes 4 to 6 weeks once you sign up the Prometric site. So if you're lining up your prep course, make sure you do that. Sign up with Prometric before you take the webinar, because it's nice to take that test as soon as you get done with the prep course, so that information is still fresh in your head. Send your test scores in to either Jason or James. We want to make sure we keep track of who's endorsed throughout each training center. And if you have any questions, please get a hold of Jason Quarter. Everybody has his contact information. Okay, James, I'm going to have you pull up the Ironworker Green Energy stuff. So the Ironworker Green Energy Green Construction book for Ironworkers is in the process of being totally revised and updated. Later this year, we will roll out the entire training package, but we put together this tri-folder on what it is, the Green Energy Training Series. Next page, James. And then it's going to talk about solar, wind turbine, onshore, offshore, and mass timber. So we'll have the information out. You know, this stuff is almost done. The complete module later this year, instructor guide, student workbook, et cetera, et cetera. And we're not going to print it. It's going to be just on the LMS, and that's what's going to take a little bit of a process late summer, early fall. So be on the lookout for that, and we will send out more announcements regarding green energy. And then the final note I have is regarding the National Training Fund app. I was asked to have you please add your book number to your profile. Adding your book number will help us send you a personal notification if we need to get a hold of just you and maybe not the whole crowd across the country. So by adding your book number to your profile will help Jason navigate that app and get information to you, personal information as needed. And James, that's about all I got. We're looking forward to Ann Arbor. If you have any questions, please contact our office. We expect a good crowd, and we're looking forward to it. It's going to be here before we know it. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Appreciate that. Just one more point on the green energy. The thought there is that it's going to be kind of an entire module, but you'll be able to take the individual sections of the green energy training and get a certificate of completion for each of those, and then be able to do the overall one as well. So if you need some as needed training or, in-time training for your area, you'll be able to get your members into those specific, facets of green energy if you'd like to, and just have them take the green energy awareness in those specific things. So, and if you'd like that flyer, we've got it. And if you need any more information, or if you have more questions about the green energy stuff, you can reach out to me. We're kind of working with a few different people to get that moving forward. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me.
James, there's no reason why we couldn't put that trifold out on Lister right now, is there?
I don't.
Just as an FYI to everybody.
Yeah, I can throw it out right after this meeting. No problem.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. Any questions on anything that Lee talked about before we moved into our next guest speakers? Okay. Seeing none. And if you'd like to make a comment, there is a little raise hand function. If you go into the reactions there, you can raise hand, or you can just unmute and feel free to speak. So I want this to be an open forum. All right. That being said, we are going to move into Safety Department update. Steve Rank, the floor is yours, my friend, and you are muted.
Can you hear me now, folks?
There you go. We got you loud and clear, Steve.
Okay. Let me get this slide up here. Well, I just want to thank Lee for giving me a few minutes to give all you folks an update on something that the safety department has to focus on, and that's fall protection is one of our biggest issues. And we have had a serious trend of falls. And when we look at them really close, we're seeing that the falls are done, number one, right in full view of the foreman. And number two, most of the falls resulted in the incorrect installation and use of this various types of fall arrest equipment on the market. And for several years, we've seen this trend. So last September, Lee gave me some time to present 20, 30 slides at in the Denver coordinators meeting, where we looked at the horror stories of false sense of security and how people were tied off wrong right out in the field, our members. And so now we've kind of looked into this. We've had this pilot program going for, it'll be 2 years this October, where we have put on this pilot program around the United States and Canada. It's the Foreman Fall Protection Pilot Program, because we have to start somewhere. And it seemed reasonable to us, and that we need to stick our efforts in getting to those foremen that have people underneath their supervision and drilling it down that way. These are some of the things that we've already looked at that we want to address in this training course. And this is one in the Pacific Northwest. There's their mock-up structure. And we know that not every training facility has a mock-up like this one, okay? Or this one right here. We get that. But as long as the mock-up allows us to put various types of fall arrest system on there and train our members on there, that's where we want to go with this.
Hey, Steve, if you are sharing your screen, I cannot see it.
Oh, I am sharing it.
I don't think you're up. For some reason, it didn't come through.
Okay, let me back out here then. I'm sorry, folks.
It's okay.
I thought we were all loaded up there. Is that copy loaded on your end?
If you just click the green screen share button on the bottom and then choose the screen you want to share, you should be good to go.
Okay. Let me do this.
Sorry about that. I thought you were giving us.
I'm sorry, folks. I'm sorry. I'm looking for this green button down here at the bottom. There we go. All right, we got it now, folks. I thought I already had it teed up. My fault.
There we go, Steve. We're looking good. Just
okay, here we go.
Put it in presentation mode and you're ready to rock and roll.
You got it. All right. I think it's supposed to be in presentation mode, but
there you go.
There. Okay. How's that? All right. Just want to give everyone an update on this. These are the topics that we've talked about at some of our meetings at the annual and at the Denver instructors or the coordinators meeting that Lee hosted in Denver last year. These are the type of systems that that Lee has the blueprints on that we would really like for all training facilities to do this, but we understand that there's expense and there's resources that maybe some training facilities don't have, but we can work with you. And that's one of the things that I talked to Lee about, we talked about is we want to work with you and try to help you either modify or update your existing mock-up, or maybe with your impact trustees and everyone else, maybe you can purchase one like this. But for the purpose of being is we want to put all of our fall arrest equipment on there so that when people get out to the field, they know how the new products out on the market, how to install them and how to use them correctly so that we don't have a false sense of security. So the pilot program we've been working on, one of the sections that I've talked to Lee about that really has to be integrated into this foreman fall protection training course is no one tells our foremen their roles and responsibilities that's already been determined by both Department of Labor, OSHA, and also the National Labor Relations Board. No one ever tells them till the big one happens and they depose them, and I read their statements, and it was done right in the view of a foreman, and they are considered to be company management representatives, not an iron worker out of local 29 or 433. They're considered to be company management representatives. So you only have to do one of these items that you see the bullet points on, and you are no different than the owner of the company being out there in this picture. They consider you to be the same. Okay. So point being is if I see Lee Worley, if I turn my head and I see he's not tied off correctly, he's not tied off at all, and something happens to Lee, and they say, well, Steve was standing right there. Then they find this out and they determine that I was a supervisor, then it creates a lot of problems. But the worst part is Lee Worley gets hurt, and we don't want that. So if you do one of these bullet points, just one, you're considered to be a company management representative. But once again, no one tells us. So where we'd like to go is this pilot program has taught us a lot about our foremen around the country, about what they know, what they don't know. We've gotten great feedback in the Pac Northwest, in Canada, in the Midwest, in Ohio. Most recently, we did in California, and we've also just finished our last one in Orlando, Florida. So our foremen are unaware of a lot of this stuff. They're unaware of a lot of new products out, like you see right here. One of the items that we really want to focus on, expand the use of, are these temporary anchorage points that you see right here that only requires a high strength bolt to go in it. And once you got a 13/16 hole punched in the column web or the column flange, you're good to go. So the cost of doing this versus installing stanchion posts and the labor cost is much less. So those are some things that we wanted to work with you out later on and give you a list of photographs and some things that we would really like for you guys to try to work into your mock-ups. And here's another one. Got the hole, got the anchorage point. And these are just a couple different ways that our members in the field and our contractors can install these temporary anchorage points. You see the Zorbit right here, my cursor's on. That should be a common piece of equipment that's installed at the very end of every horizontal lifeline. It absorbs, that coil will absorb as we fall into it. That's what takes the shock, and it expands and it unrolls. So it takes all those forces off the cable, off the terminus point, and off your body. So those are some things that we've been really focusing on, and many of our foremen haven't even seen them or used them before, but they can be reused. They can go from job to job to job. Another one is when I get on a job is you don't have to wrap steel cables around for an anchorage point, or you don't have to weld tabs. In many cases, we can just get these nylon straps here that are made to be anchorage points for fall rest systems. These are just some things that we wanted to integrate into your existing facility. And then we have temporary anchorage points for these retractable lanyards, which has been one of our biggest problems. Just last week, we had a member fall, tied off to a retractable lanyard, extended out 25 feet in a horizontal plane. He fell, he swung, he hit the deck, and he got broken up, severely injured. So it goes back to that trend of the misuse of fall rest equipment, and particularly these retractable lanyards. The course we've been working on around the United States and Canada has been a 4-hour course. We have 2 hours of classroom instruction. This one was done in Seattle. We've partnered with 3M on this, where they provide an instructor that knows the equipment. They bring a booklet. It's very useful. The foreman has to do some free fall calculations to make sure that they're not going to strike anything below them in different case scenarios. But they go over all the new technology, the leading edge equipment that's rated to go over the edge. So we've learned a lot from the foreman. So I just discussed this with Lee, And the next step is we want to also include another section into this foreman fall protection course to deal with fall rescue. Everyone talks about it, and it's required under the OSHA subpart M standard. But really, how are you going to do it? What are your systems, and are our foremen trained on it? And do they have it on the erection floor, like right here? What are the systems that they're going to use if the guy that you see in the very top of the picture falls? Well, since there's decking there, at least we have an opportunity to use a ladder to get to them. But what kind of systems, whether they're conscious or unconscious, can we get them down? What about single story structures like this one? A high bay warehouse. We do a hell of a lot of them. But the question is what systems can we put on those joist girders or joists to get Lee Worley down? Okay. So those are questions that we need to answer. And our employers need to have that stuff on these work sites, just like fall arrest equipment, and that the foremen need to be trained on it. How about this one? We stuff bridging a lot, but what happens if our member in this picture falls in the middle of this 35, 40 foot open web steel joist? What systems can you attach to the top flange of this joist where if it rolls a little bit because the bridging hasn't been installed yet? So we got to think about this because our members are in this situation as we speak. So we have to figure out how can we train our contractors and our foremen on what systems they can use in this common application. Same thing with the pre-engineered metal buildings, 35, 40 feet off the ground. Someone is diabetic and they have a sugar low and they go unconscious. It's happened. How about heat illness? And if they're unconscious, how are you going to get them down in this situation? So this is an amended section that we're currently working on. And we don't want to forget the reinforcing ironworkers either. So we deal with fall rescue options on walls, columns, and decks. Some of these columns, like you see here in the center picture, are getting bigger. They're getting bigger all the time. So if you're up 30, 40 feet and for some reason something happens, well, how can it get you down if I can't get a ladder? There's no base to set a ladder down. So how am I going to get this reinforcing ironworker down? What are the common systems that we have? So that's what we're working on to try to revisit your current 6-hour fall protection training program and just add a few things in there. Don't want to completely reinvent the wheel. We just want to modify it with everyone's input. And as I told Lee before, we would really appreciate everyone's input on how we can modify this to address the situations that our members face in the field every day. If you have any questions, here's the safety department folks, and here's a number where you can always reach us and we can get back to you as soon as possible. But I appreciate the opportunity. I didn't know if there was any quick questions. I didn't know if Jeff Norris was on the line. The hazards in Canada for doing iron work are the same as they are anywhere else in the world. So the hazards and the use of the equipment are the same. It transcends borders. And I know there's a few regulation differences between Canada and the United States, but the basic principles of hazards remain the same. So we want to build this to help protect our members and avoid these trends that we continue to see. So James, Lee, I don't know if anyone has any quick questions. If not, they can contact us later and we'd be glad to answer any questions that they may have.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate that. And, you know, considering that yesterday was the 2023 National Stand Down to Prevent Falls in Construction, that was a relevant presentation. We thank you, Steve, for that. Any questions or comments for Steve and his presentation? Okay. Seeing none, Steve, is there a way that we can make these PowerPoints available to people if they want to review them?
Absolutely. I'll change them to a PDF file and I'll email them to you and Lee here shortly.
Perfect. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, we're at the bottom of the hour, doing good on time. we're going to jump in. Ben and Courtney have some stuff that they want to talk about regarding organizing and apprenticeships. So I'm going to turn the floor over to them, and here we go.
Cool. Thanks, James. Let me just get set up here.
Okay. And you should be a co-host. There we go. Perfect. We can see it. Looks great.
All right. Excellent. Well, first of all, thanks, James and Lee, for giving me the time to jump on here and talk to you guys. For those that don't know me, my name is Ben Basom. I work in the organizing department, specifically on the digital organizing side is my primary focus. And what we're going to talk about for a minute here is just sort of about some of the lead generation that's been happening that you might not have been aware of, and really kind of put it out there to get it start to talk about it so we can move forward and see what we can do to better the ideas that we've been running with, and see how we can best reach out to some of these people. So with that, the department's been doing lead generation stuff for quite some time on social media. We're reaching out, trying to get a hold of the non-union ironworkers that are agitated and they want to start organizing and form a union. However, of course, that also means that we're getting people that don't necessarily meet that criteria. And so those are the people we kind of want to focus on. So I'm going to walk you through the process here. What we do, we've been running these ad sets on social media. So this is primarily Facebook and Instagram. This is just a sample of a couple of them that are currently running. All of them are in English and Spanish. There's about 4 more different ads that aren't shown here, but they're all very similar, just sort of, about organizing and, organizing for better wages, better working conditions, so on and so forth. And so once a person views the ad, clicks on that learn more thing button down below, brings them into these instant forms that Facebook has set up. And these are nice. It's a really efficient way to collect information. We ask 2 simple questions. Are you currently working as an iron worker? Yes, no, or I have experience, but not currently working. And then the other one is, who's your most recent employer? All of the contact information then auto-generates from their Facebook profiles, and they hit next, and it's basically submitted. It takes, about 10 seconds for them for people to fill out this form. Once they do that, they jump into this huge collection of leads, right? That we monitor, on a kind of probably every other day. We'll get in there and start sorting these out. These are all the raw leads. I just took this screenshot this morning. This is what it looks like. It's just a bunch of names and where people came from. Currently, these are all raw leads because I have not looked at them or sorted them or done anything with them. I will show you on the next screen here what each of these look like. So when you click through them, this is what it looks like. So the experienced ones on the right, those are the ones that organizing department collects. We'll send out to all of our organizer, or the organizer in the area. For example, this one, went to the organizer covering Maryland and the Baltimore area for follow-up calls to have that organizing conversation and start to generate a little bit of interest to organize at their workplace and form a union. Now, the ones we're focusing on here are the ones with no experience. And we get anything from, roofers or, people in other trades, electricians, whatever, not currently working as an iron worker, but might have some construction experience. Or there's kind of the opposite end of the spectrum that are people that, maybe work in a restaurant or are out, delivering food or something like that, working at a gas station. Since we've started doing these ads in November, or at least running them this way since November, we started collecting a lot of them and sort of came to the realization that like we shouldn't do nothing with them because they clicked an ad. They were interested. They sort of wanted some more information. So we didn't want to just sort of discount them because they're not going to have that organizing conversation with us. So we started collecting them and kind of following up very, very loosely with them. And I'll get into that in just a second here. But since we've started doing them in November with these instant forms, we've gotten about 1,400 that we've passed on to our organizers for the organizing conversation. And then we've got this almost 3,000 currently that we've also sent some follow-up stuff on as well. And on average, we get about 110 to 140 a week of those with no experience. So once a week, we'll collect those every Friday. Anybody that we've collected through the week ends up getting this. Pretty much it's a standard form email here that we put together in Action Network. So for example, this email that was just sent on the 28th got sent out to 215 targets, and the open rates have been pretty decent. This particular one had a 61% open rate and then a 24% click-through rate, which basically means they clicked on one of the links. All of those links currently are going to the international site where about the apprenticeship and find an apprenticeship office. And so that's where we're directing them at this point. We are going to probably start actually at this point working with Courtney a little bit more on where to direct them, but we did end up putting together this put together a landing page just for a little bit more, flashier information about apprenticeship. The Become Apprenticeship button down there in red does direct them back to the international site on apprenticeship. This is just kind of scrolling down that same page, just talks about a couple of the primary crafts. And then down below that even more is actually just a video I found from Local 5's website about apprenticeship, which I thought was pretty awesome. So we put that in there. Currently, this isn't being used, but we are going to start incorporating it unless we end up launching the new website soon, and we could direct them there. But so right now, what we look at is within the first week, the people with no experience get that form email that I showed you earlier, and then they get about 4 emails total, right? So one within the first week, and then another one within like a month or two, another one around 6 months later, and then a final one after about 12 months. This is our rough schedule for that. Basically after, if we haven't got them interested within 12 months to, reach out and inquire more at an actual apprenticeship office or a local union, then we're probably not going to get anywhere with them. So we're just going to drop them off of our list. But yeah, that's our quick rundown of that. And the reason we started talking about this really is, there's a lot of apprenticeship offices out there. I don't know, if we're collecting these 140 leads a week, is there something else that we could be doing with them? Should be doing with them? Is there anybody that would like to follow up more extensively with them? Questions like that. Just kind of wanted to put that out there, not necessarily for open discussion right now, but at least plant the seed. If you have, other ideas and of what we could be doing, I mean, totally let us know, because we're generating pretty decent amount of leads, and figure might as well do something with them. The email marketing is pretty quick and easy. Doesn't take a whole lot of time from our end, but yeah, that's what I had from organizing side. And I think Courtney should be on here and was going to talk a little bit more from lead generation stuff on the international side. So I'll turn it over to Courtney. And thank you.
All right,
guys. Oh, James.
No, you're good. I was just saying, all right, Courtney, here we go.
All right, here we go. I don't have a fancy presentation for you guys. Ben did great on that and covered all bases. What I'm doing over on the international side of things is fairly similar to what Ben is doing, but I'm doing a little bit more one-on-one interaction, because I'm getting all of those direct messages from our social media accounts. I've got them all on the same platform. And basically when someone sends a message and inquires, how do I get in? How do I do this? My protocol is to typically send them the directory, ask them which local they're looking for, and I'll typically follow back up with them in a couple of days. There's like a little reminder feature you can put on a message, and I follow back up with them and say, hey, did you call? Did you email? I think the biggest problem we're running into right now with being able to help recruit ironworkers into your apprenticeships is that we don't know when you guys are accepting applications. So I think that for me, it would be extremely helpful if I knew when you guys have open applications, or when you're accepting, or when you're getting ready to start a new class. I'm not sure how we want to collect that information yet. We may end up sending something out to you on listserv just to get a little participation in a form or something. But I think that would be helpful. And I think that it would also be helpful to have a bigger conversation about, when you open your application process, how does that go from start to finish with you guys? I know some of you have open applications all the time. I know some of you once a year, twice a year, some of you every couple of years. So it would be interesting for us to hear more about that process, in which we could help direct these people reaching out to us a little bit more efficiently, because right now we're in that age of instant gratification. So Ben and I are getting all of these leads about people who want to be in an apprenticeship or want to be an iron worker, and they want to do it right now. I mean, immediately. They want to be an iron worker tomorrow. And I think that's why we've been so hasty about trying to stay on top of these guys, to try to say, hey, you still working that job at the pizza joint? Hey, they're accepting applications now. Why don't you go down and apply again? So having that information from you guys would be extremely helpful, even if it's just an email once in a while saying, hey, we're getting ready to open up our applications. Can you promote that on social media for me? Or, hey, I know you had a couple of guys from my area. Do you want to go ahead and reach back out to them and let them know that I'm ready to accept applications? Otherwise, I kind of think it would be great to figure out some kind of open discussion that we could have on how the international can kind of be a bridge between these inquiries that we're getting and actually following up and getting them into a class or getting them into an apprenticeship. And I'm definitely open to conversation on your guys' end, because you guys are there every single day. We're just the ones at HQ hearing about people who want to be ironworkers. We don't hear about, if any of these leads ever pan out most of the time.
Okay. One of the intriguing things to me, Courtney and Ben, is, you guys have such a great ability to capture that data and that contact information of these individuals. And while you're using some of that data to then forward to the organizing department, to kind of get as a recruiting type thing, how can we as apprenticeship, maybe this is part of that discussion that's going to take place, but how can we as apprenticeship programs get access to capture and utilize the rest of that data, kind of like NAB2 does when somebody submits one of those virtual applications, it gets submitted, Lee gets it, and then I forward it to the appropriate apprenticeship program. But it seems like you've got a lot of interested folks there captured. And so how can us as apprenticeship better work with the organizing department to make sure that we're getting those folks, to the individual space without you obviously having to reach out to each one of them individually? So that would be an interesting conversation moving forward.
Do you think that if we had some demographics on like location of where these people are looking to work, because there are some people willing to like move for work as well, would it be helpful to you guys if we sent on that information and let you follow up with an interested iron worker? Is that adding more work to your plate that you don't need?
Anybody think that would be good, or at least interested in that conversation? You can just nod or put your head up or put your hand up. Yeah, I see some thumbs up. We got some people moving. Got a couple waves in the chat, so definitely.
We'll start working on a way that we can better disperse that information to you guys. We definitely probably need to get some, well, I'll get a form out to you guys here in the next couple of weeks with some more information and some questions that you can answer for me. That way we have all of your good contact information and, you know, the best ways to reach you to disperse information like this.
Perfect.
Matt, what's up?
Well, good morning or afternoon, but so real quick, we've kind of had this discussion. Ben, when you started launching this stuff, we talked about this in the organizing department, and we've been doing a similar thing with the organizers in the Pacific Northwest. When I worked as the local organizer, if there was somebody regionally that came in that had experience, but we weren't taking apprentices right away, we didn't have that opportunity, we'd grab that application and pass it off to the district council organizing department and vice versa. So if they get somebody that hits them, doesn't have any experience, hey, call the apprenticeship. So what you guys are doing here is pretty similar to what we've already been doing. And Courtney kind of hit it. So got to figure out where they want to work and where they're at. And then don't just pigeonhole them to one local. Send it out to 3 or 4 regional locals in that area and see who can reach out to them, connect them to 3 or 4 different options, because one might not be hiring. They might want to go over here. There's different conversations there to happen. So we kind of need to do it regionally, even sub-district council wide, and then kind of grab them, send them out, or send the contacts to the apprenticeships to them for each one of them and let them contact them. That was it.
Kind of filter it down a little bit. Yeah. Thanks, Matt. So to be continued, we'll continue that conversation. Like Courtney said, she'll get some stuff out to us and we'll just keep working and moving that forward. Ben, Courtney, anything else? Okay. I appreciate you guys. All right. Thank you. Okay. We've got, we are really just clicking right on time here. We are doing good today. We are quarter to the hour. I'm going to turn it over to Tim from IT. He's got some thoughts and ideas on AI. We all know it's coming, so we might as well utilize it. Tim, floor is yours.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I will try to cover a lot of information very quickly. No way, shape, or form am I going to be able to go into a lot of depth with AI, but I will try to get you up to speed on what it is, what it isn't, where we're at with it. So I'm not going to bore you with too many slides, but I think everyone should have heard or has heard in the news the talking about AI and generative AI. And for those of you that don't know what it is basically, think of a big computer that has consumed all of the content that's available on the internet, both visual, video, written, music, and it basically has compiled all that, and you can ask questions of AI and it will create new content based upon what it knows in the past. I had the fortunate opportunity to be involved with a year-long course, technology course from MIT in Boston. And last week I was on campus for a week and had several lectures on AI. And quite frankly, the experts in the room are mixed on it. It's something that has come about so quickly that it's scary. And one of the things about AI is with generative AI, it really only came into play about November of last year. And we're not even barely 6 months past that. And millions upon millions of people are already adopting it and using it. It already exists in many tools and web browsers. And basically, you know, to take away from this picture is basically how exponentially quickly technology is advancing. And in this picture that's on the screen over here in 2020 to 2045, you today can buy technology, say your cell phone, that has more computing power than a mouse and one human brain. And a lot of the experts seem to think, based upon where technology, how quickly it's accelerating, by the year 2045, about $1,000 worth of technology, again, your cell phone in your pocket, will have the computing power of the entire planet. That's pretty scary. It has a lot of benefits to it. So kind of fast forward, what can AI do for you today? So with generative AI and a lot of the tools that exist now that you can start using today, you can use it to translate content into different languages. You can summarize vast amounts of information. You can change information. You can ask for just, you know, an understanding of pretty much anything you can think of. You can interact with it and have conversations. There was an example of a reporter that had a conversation with an AI chatbot, and within days, that AI turned around and basically told the reporter, "I love you." But that they weren't talking about anything like that. They just were having like a discussion, and it was like you and I having a discussion back and forth. You can use it for marketing. So like in the world of Courtney and Ben, anyone that writes content for Facebook, for Instagram, all that, AI can help you create that content quicker, faster. It can help you brainstorm ideas, refine, etc. So one example, in one of the courses I took at MIT last week, one of the professors talking about AI just so happened to use the iconic Ironworkers picture. And what he did was he sent it into AI and said, AI, update this and make it more relevant to current times. AI took the old picture and basically created several different variations of it, but included, instead of lunch boxes, laptops and iPads, and kind of modernized the people in it. But this image was created by a computer. It doesn't exist anywhere. It is a one of a kind. So a lot of the challenges around AI at this point, and what you may have heard more recently in the news, is even the AI experts are saying now is the time to slow down and put some guardrails in before we advance further, or we're going to have a lot of problems, and they're not good problems. I don't know. I just saw an article. I just saw the news story today that, you know, our U.S. government is now introducing legislation to mandate that that nuclear weapons cannot be launched using artificial intelligence. It must be launched using a human person. That's some scary stuff. But just like the professors at MIT agree with, there needs to be regulations. Our government, and any government, is not really in a position to understand the technology in order to really put in legislation at this point to do what will be necessary. So I'm going to stop presenting my screen, and I'm going to share something else. And I just want to give you a real look at what I'm talking about. So what I'm sharing with you now is my web browser, and I have an account for OpenAI, which is the company that is open source that made this AI freely available. What's interesting is this company, OpenAI, Microsoft has invested $1 billion+ into this company. Microsoft is implementing it into all of their tools in Office 365, into Edge web browser. If any of you use Microsoft Edge and start seeing this blue B up at the top, you can click on it and basically opens up this panel. And this is an interface to using AI. So just as an example, I'm using the chat, this interface you're seeing here. I'm just going to start a new chat. Another thing I'll explain real quickly is if you've heard ChatGPT 3, ChatGPT 4, I subscribe to the paid model, but you can use it as a free model, and you'll be limited to the difference is ChatGPT 3.5 only knows about content on the internet up to 2021. ChatGPT 4 is the next version of the technology, and it has more capabilities, and it's faster, and it's more concise. But so for an example, I can come in here and I can say, what is an iron worker? And as I'm doing this, you think in terms of education's going to have to change, because whether you know it or not, your kids and grandkids are already using this technology today for school. Whether the school wants them to or not, our kids are already using it. So as you can see here, I asked this a simple question: what's an iron worker? And it gives me, so very similar to doing a search result, but this is more interactive. And I can say, and this is the part where it's different than just a chat, Google browsing the internet. I can ask it to put this into 5 bullet points. So I'm just saying, put this into 5 bullet points. I didn't have to tell it put what I just, it took the content, it remembers the content that I had before, and it puts it into bullet points. Now let's say I want this, write this in Spanish and French. I was thinking about when Steve was talking about safety, I'm IT. I don't know much about the ins and outs of job sites that ironworkers work on. So I just asked ChatGPT, what is a fall arrest system? And it gave me a description of what a fall arrest system is. And then I said, okay, summarize a fall arrest system into bullet points. And it took that content and broke it into bullet points. So I could take and copy and paste and use that in emails or content. This is the part, like James was pointing out, one of the things that you have to be cognizant of with using AI is AI at this point in time can give you very believable content, but it may not be 100% accurate. You can read it and you can say, oh, this sounds right. But somebody that knows the content can look at it and say, oh, well, no, there's a problem here. So one of the things is when you're using it to create content, you really need to understand what it is that what you're writing about or asking it to create, and then having some knowledge around that. That will change and it will improve as more different versions of chat, GPT and AI comes out. It's only getting better. And that is also the scary part of it, is how quickly it's getting better. I mean, I myself am big in technology. I have technology at home. I think people have Ring doorbells. If you're familiar with that, you have your Alexas, everything. It's not a far stretch to take AI and have it interacting with Alexa, locking your doors. What if one day you say, Alexa, unlock my front door, which I can do today, and it turns around and says, no, I don't want to. That's the part that's scary with this stuff. The other side to it is there's not anything any one of us, you or I, can do to stop it. It's going to happen whether you want to or not. Whether you say you're going to use it or not, guess what? You probably already have used it and don't realize it. Another thing, so this is, like in the news, you can generate videos from it. You can generate music from it. There was recently music that was created in a matter of minutes that was distributed online that came across like it was created by Drake and The Weeknd. And neither of those artists had anything to do with it. And now their attorneys and legal teams are going around swatting flies trying to get the stuff taken down off of the internet because it sounds like them, it looks like their content, but it's not. Similarly, I don't know if you've heard about the big strike that's happened, starts today, I believe, in writers in like Hollywood. I think part of the main point they're striking about is fair wages, a lot of similar issues that any worker fights about. But one of the things they're fighting about too is the use of AI in generating content, because it will at some point basically eliminate the need for them. Just as another quick example here, I can say, write a poem about an iron worker. There you go. That is original content on the fly. All I did was write a poem about an iron worker. It understood what an iron worker was, terms related to an iron worker, and spit it out. Likewise, with art, with imaging, I can say, let me do a female. I do this just to show that it worker. I did this last time with blue hard hat, hard hats, and on a fucking job site. So I give it a little prompt, kind of a little description of what I want a picture of, and then I say create art. And what AI is doing is it is going to interpret what I asked it, and it's going to generate pictures based upon my text. So I said a female iron worker with blue hard hats on a foggy job site. So there's some fog. Okay, this one, that's not a blue hard hat. This one's a blue hard hat. There's a blue hard hat. There's a blue hard hat. These images are not images that existed. This was just created based upon what I asked it, a description. And with certain different tools, this particular interface to AI gives me the ability to say enhance my prompt. And what it does is it took the short description I wrote, and it gave me a more descriptive, and then I can say create art, and it's going to create, and it's going to be different because it's based upon more description of more specifics of what I'm looking for. So I'm over time. It's 2 minutes over. I'll quickly, like I said, there's no way I can cover all of this stuff and the ins and outs of it. I want to open it up, and anybody have any questions, comments? We can do, well, I think we're planning on doing additional webinars like this in the future, but maybe we'll dive into some more specifics. But I'm open ears if anybody has any questions or comments.
We've got one question in chat. If you use AI in an article, etc., how do you give proper credit?
Great question. So with some of the newer AI tools, specifically like Jasper. Jasper is a tool that's been around for a long time, even before AI, and now that AI is here, they've integrated with it. A lot of the chat AI tools are starting to now include the resources, the sources that they use to create that content. And that is like Jasper AI is one of them. So I can say with Jasper, so going back to your point is you need to be careful of the content created and how you're using it and to properly credit it. So like I'm going to ask Jasper what this is, and we'll see what Jasper comes up with. So various different interfaces you use to interact with AI, they do different things, and Jasper's one that, here we go. So Jasper answered the question that explains what an ironworker is, and it lists the sources.
Look at that, it actually lists our website.
And again, an example like this, I've got this. Another strong thing to use AI for is just explaining to people. So I've got this content, but I'm going to say, oh, you know, this is kind of difficult for, like, say, a 5th grader. I said, explain this to a 5th grader. There we go.
Very cool. Very cool. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Tim? And then in future webinars, we'll keep kind of updating on this. We'll bring Tim back a few times and kind of present to us as this develops. But I know we are over the 11 o'clock. We're at 11:05 right now. So does anybody have anything for Tim? Okay. Perfect. Well, you know, thank you to everyone that came in and presented and spoke to us today. Thank you all for showing up and being active in these webinars. I think it's really important that we create a effective dialogue all across North America between the apprenticeship programs. And you all have a fantastic day. I will get all of the PowerPoints, links, and any relevant content out to everybody today. And I'll give you your days back. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.